I'm a good 4 to 6 inches taller than everybody. So yes. so at first blush, I'm like, are we sure? Like, come on, do we need DNA testing or what? So no, sorry. Hey, thanks for listening to the Badass Dad podcast, where we are a band of brothers committed to forging stronger fathers. Hey, get connected with us. You can go to our website, new and updated website, BadAssDads.org. That is BadAssDads.org. Hey, sign up for our email list where you'll be getting the most up-to-date content and some behind-the-scenes things as well as exclusive content. Follow us on Instagram at Badass Dads Podcast. You can also do me a favor. My one ask for you is subscribe and write a review and rate this podcast. Give us 5 stars, leave us a review. We're going to be sending out some swag, some t-shirts and things to people who leave a review for us. So please do that and follow us on all those different forms. Have a badass day. Welcome to the BadAss Dad podcast. KDH here on the microphone in the Iron Yeti studios. Once again with the DeShrivers. Stacy.
Hi.
How you feeling?
Good.
All right.
Hey, really
so we're
excited.
going into part 2. Steven, how you doing?
Amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So for those of you, maybe you missed a previous episode on this. This is literally, Steven and Stacy putting me, KDH, on the couch, and we're doing a little counseling session for me right now. So to get people caught up, it was just a little more than 2 weeks ago. I was found. Didn't know I was lost, but I was found, and I have 2 sisters and a brother that I had never met before, and so here we are, just a couple days off of this meeting, and then also meeting my biological father for only the second time in my entire life. So the last time was way back in the year of our Lord 1990. So that would be 30 years ago. I know that just shows that I'm very, very old. And so, had a chance to go to the Dallas area, and I met these guys, and, first time. And so we're going to talk a little bit about just going through this. And, I kind of shared before, when we did the first episode, I had you guys write down, I didn't tell you what the subject was. You remember that? I didn't tell you what the subject was. And I said, hey, we might have something here. I don't know if it's Jerry Springer, maybe it's Oprah Winfrey, maybe it's Dr. Phil. I said, but it may be something. And so I had you guys write some things down before I told you what it was. And if you didn't listen to it, I don't know, maybe it'd be fun to listen to. And then the questions that they had, because it was so fresh and right off the cuff. And so this is just as real as it gets. And so just sharing, because, both my boys being adopted, there is a chance, maybe even a good chance, that they're going to have similar experience, meeting biological siblings or something like that sometime in the future. And so they are getting a front row seat to this, and they're getting, we are having open conversations. My oldest Jacob is 13 years old, going into 8th grade. My little guy Bentley is 9 years old, going into 4th grade. And so we're navigating these waters right now, and, truly uncharted. So we're going to talk a little bit about the weekend and, my processing and where we are. And, I told these guys, I told them I host a podcast, and I said, this is going to make for great fodder, and who knows where this will go. And they were, I'll say, supportive. I don't know, maybe after they listen, they won't be supportive anymore. But it was a fun time. And so, yeah, we'll just, I'll let you guys start, and we'll kind of navigate the waters as we go.
So I'd like to back up a little bit. So the last time we spoke, you just mentioned that you had your sister,
Yes.
your biological sister, had reached
Yes.
out to you through Facebook.
Yes.
And that's kind of where it ended.
Yeah.
And then after that, you pointed out that not only she asked you to come down to Texas,
Yeah.
but your father did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was not a part of the conversation that we had
Yeah.
the first time.
So I guess to recap a little bit, last time while we were on the air recording, I had my phone turned upside down, and I turned it over and showed that biological dad had called. I have a missed call and a voicemail from him, because we were going to be talking later on that day. And once again, that conversation that happened about 2 weeks ago was only the second time that I'd ever spoken to him. And so, yeah. Okay. So
No. So that's my
Yeah.
question. So your sister asks you to go down to Texas to meet her. I can somewhat wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
Your dad asks to meet you. Why'd you go?
Yeah. It's a wonderful question. And I wouldn't so much, I mean, part of it's curiosity. There's no doubt. Part of it is curiosity. Part of it is me going, I don't know where this journey is going to take me. And, it's literally, I felt like I'm floating down a river, and my river's been incredibly calm the last several years. I mean, take COVID, the rise. Okay. Those have been choppy enough, but just going, hey, here's this other, fork to this river, and, do we want to take it or not? And so I felt, the ball squarely in my, court, and I would have a choice to do with it what I wanted to do. I could have just as easily said, F you, I'm out. I don't need this. I'm good. My family is good. I don't need any disruption. And I wish I could just say, no, I don't even wish it. But one response could have been, well, I'm so righteous, and I need to navigate these waters so my boys can see it, which they are, yes. But that wasn't the motivating factor for me. It really was. I was just open, and I felt like I've been coming from a place of strength. Where physically I feel good, mentally I feel good, emotionally, spiritually, financially, I feel like I'm in a good place to navigate these waters. And so I was like, really my response was, what's the worst that can happen? I'll protect my kidneys. You remember I told you guys,
wake up in a bathtub somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah, my first response, when we got the message was, oh crap, I'm gonna have to give up a kidney. Okay, so I'll protect my kidneys. Keep the distance. My grappling's okay. If someone's unskilled, I think I can handle myself pretty well. But I was like, you know what? They wouldn't even be able to hurt me anyway. So it was interesting as we started progressing, making flight arrangements and everything else. I'd reached out to a couple of my buddies in Dallas who were absolutely amazing. But Ashley actually kind of texted me and said, hey, what time do you land? And do you want to stay with us? And I was like, I got a place to stay. I got a car. I'm good. That way, if I need exit stage left, you can
escape.
I can go. And so I think part of it was, I was coming from a place of strength that I could handle it. So, yeah.
So what'd you find?
What did I find?
You said you were coming at it from a place of curiosity.
Yeah. This is not the question that you asked, but I've been asked a ton of questions, as far as, what's the resolution? Was there forgiveness? Was there that? I wasn't really going with that. I was sharing with a couple guys one night, and I said, I don't know that there's anything that Gary, my biological father, that Gary would be able to say that if there was this gaping wound that I was dealing with, that all of a sudden he says this and I would go, oh, I'm good now. And so I didn't go saying, okay, give me this answer. I really just went going, I'm just open, and let me see if this is something that is worth pursuing, that I want to pursue, that, and which is now how I protected myself was I was the only one that went. Gretchen didn't go. The boys didn't go. So I'm, one man army that can, quickly maneuver how we need to. But, I walked away, one of the things I did walk away, feeling, I walked away feeling something different than I feel like I've felt in most of my life, which is I felt pursued. Okay. In most of my life, my professional career, even teaching and coaching, but definitely in the world of money and finance, it has been a business, a career of pursuing more clients, pursuing more relationships, always in pursuit. And this was one of the first times that I actually felt pursued. I felt like people, these guys, wanted me. They wanted to get to know me. So I'm going to kind of share with you guys a little bit. There are some words that I don't know if really triggered is the right thing, but definitely create some more emotion around me. But I did feel loved. I felt, that they would like a relationship with me. And so yeah.
Wow. I just want to know, this is just kind of from on a surface level only, because you had mentioned that you came back after meeting everybody.
I'm a good 4 to 6 inches taller than everybody. So yes. so at first blush, I'm like, are we sure? Like, come on, do we need DNA testing or what? So no, sorry.
How, by the time you got back, because you said it was kind of a whirlwind weekend and everything was all packed and it was just like one thing happening after another. How long did it take for you to unpack what you, were you just completely like peopled out by the time you finished talking to everybody and going home? I can't imagine. What was the plane ride home like? That's what I want to know.
Okay. Yeah. And that's a good question. And for me, I am much more like, if you do the Myers-Briggs and all that kind of stuff, I am very much an introvert personality, in that I do enjoy people, but I re-energize myself, if you will, alone. And so I was able to, even during the fast pace of the weekend, I did find a few moments to be able to withdraw, if you will, and just, have a few moments just to myself there. But the plane ride home was mostly, I think I slept the entire way, to be honest. It was great because, I got Gretchen bumped me up to the very front of the plane. So I was like, I can be the last one on the plane and I can be the first one off. So it's like the way I love to travel. But I walked away going, I am open to this relationship, to these relationships, I should say. There's still, and I don't know. To be honest, I might be in a total state of denial right now. I may have some deep seated, something in there that hasn't surfaced yet. I don't feel that at this time, but maybe I do. But I enjoyed the conversations that we were able to have, and there was a lot of laughs. There was a lot of getting to know one another. This is, they're all in their 40s or more. So there's decades, of experience that they've had together that I have not been a part of. It was one of the weird things was, for them to know about me, not just what they've learned over the last couple of weeks, but to have known my existence, if you will, for basically all their lives, and for me to not really have known, So there's some of that navigating that's been going on as well.
So did you get a chance to talk to Ashley, right? She was the one who originally reached out to you. Did you get a chance to talk to her even a little bit in depth about what prompted her to reach out? Was there some sort of triggering event, or was there, you went for the kidneys, but was she just kind of like, I'm tired of not knowing and we're just going to try this? Or what was her motivation? And
Yeah. Well, like in any family, especially that has, more than a couple kids or whatever, people kind of fit into their different roles that they have. And so what I'm able to derive is that Ashley is kind of a bit of the hub. She's the one that brings everybody together. It definitely feels like she's the daddy's girl there, in a really good way. And so she brings brother and other sister, in and brings dad in and all that. And she has been exploring the family tree. Okay. So she had, she started sharing things with all this kind of stuff and like stuff that I'm not gonna say it didn't interest me. I've just never pursued. And so, for her, it felt like there's a part of this branch, twig or whatever that I am, that is totally missing. Like we know it exists, but we don't know all the details there. So I think part of that, for her, it's hard for me to relate because I don't process that way. But I got to tell you, there's a part of it that really feels good, and maybe this is the uncommunicated, unrecognized, unacknowledged, feelings of abandonment that I've never really felt that, but maybe that's part of it, just like, what does it really feel to be pursued by family? Since my grandmother's passed away and everything else, now, Gretchen has, but for someone else, so there's part of that just felt good. It felt healthy. Of course, for me at least, there's some of the awkwardness going, man, do I fit in? They've got their own language. They've got their own like little jokes. They've had holidays together, and how do I fit into, all these conversations?
Did she ever struggle with the idea of maybe you didn't want to be found? Or, I guess that would, if you really truly didn't want to be found, you would have never you just didn't have to respond to the Facebook post. But at the same time, like, even though you didn't want to be found, if she still found you and publicly posted something like that to Facebook, that would still make you have to come to terms with like, oh, they're looking for me and I don't want to be, did she wonder if you wanted to be found or what made her say, you know what, maybe he doesn't want to, but I'm going to do this anyway?
Yeah. The subject never came up, but I would assume that's a kind of a natural, feeling that she could have definitely had is, I think even for them, to be able to face the risk of, man, what if he goes, F you guys, why'd y'all wait this long? Who are you to try to disrupt my life? Mm-hmm. And so, it's funny because some of the I'll say silly, but some of the silly emotions that come around, just going, what are they going to be like? What am I going to be like? I'm driving to this, East Texas area, and I'm driving past, all these, single wide trailers, and there's nothing wrong with people living in single wide but all this kind of stuff, and and going, what, I don't know, what am I walking into? And then I literally, turn on their street, and it's this gorgeous neighborhood, super new houses, just all 1 acre lots, and it was like it was normal, Yeah. The funny thing is, I spent the early part of my professional, finance career that I was in people's houses a lot, and I'm asking people for money, and so I'm used to knocking on someone's door for the first time, and walking in, it wasn't comfortable, but it was a new experience. And so, it was, even the little silly things, I walk into their house. So this is biological dad's house and his wife, Candy. So Gary and Candy's house. And, they have wallpaper that has roosters. Well, my wife, Gretchen, loves chickens. And so, she has that, in their bathroom, they had a little thing and where Gretchen grew up in Michigan, there's a lot of lighthouses. So they had a little lighthouse collection, So there was just some things. It was like, this isn't that far, away. And I think it's going to be interesting to be able to look and go, because there are definitely some things that I go, well, that definitely is nature. Like we have this in common. And then there are definitely some things that we didn't have in common, that it was like, okay, that much have been nurture, there or whatever. So, that whole nature versus nurture, there was definitely some things I was like, okay, well, we have that in common,
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing off the top of my head that I think about on that, but yeah.
So after you first met them, what was your first, after the whole, how was your flight? How was your drive? Did you find us okay? Do you want something to drink? What was like the first conversation?
Yeah.
You're strangers, but not. So what do you talk about first?
Well, I'll back up a half step. So we're meeting at a restaurant. Well, first, Ashley had texted me and she goes, hey, we'd like to be able to do dinner on Friday. Oh, no, first she asked, she goes, so what do you want? So she was really wanting to make me feel comfortable, which was great. And I said, well, I'm coming to town, these are not the words I used, but I was kind of like, I'm going to give you the pound of flesh that you want. What do you want me to do? I'll do it. And so they said, well, what if we do dinner Friday night? So we did that. Of course, we went to a Mexican food restaurant. Or she asked me, what kind of food do you like? And I said, well, if I put it in order, it would be Mexican food, barbecue, steak. And she goes, well, you're definitely part of our family. So, so we ended up meeting at this Mexican food restaurant. And so the interesting part was, I think we were getting together at 7. I roll in at 7. I mean, I'm like right at 7, got all parked and everything. And I'm walking up and there's, the group of them. And, it's a little funky right now because everybody's wearing a mask for the most part. And so in the pictures that I was able to get, I didn't totally know. But there's a group of 6 people that are standing there, and here I come walking up. So it's, there's that awkwardness, and like they see me and they know who I am almost. I mean, it seemed like right away. And, then it's shaking. Do we shake hands? Do we hug?
What do we do in the era of COVID?
Yeah.
Like,
we're family. We're, so there's this awkwardness and that I feel, and I'm a hugger. I don't have a problem hugging. But there's still that little bit of awkwardness, going, okay, I'm at least 38% sure we share DNA, but, how do we do this thing, for the first time, literally for the first time. And, it's funny. One of the things I did on the plane ride there, and I was looking for something, and I think I told you, Steve, before, like I've got, I don't know, 2,800 or something like that notes in Evernote. And I was looking for something, and I found the note that I'd written from when I met Jacob for the first time. And so Gretchen was out of town, and I'm going to meet my son. Didn't know it was going to be my son, hoping it'd be my son for the first time. And the emotions that like I'm literally on the plane there, and I had to have my glasses on, but I'm sort of, like tears go to my eyes and everything. I'm like, these are some of the emotions that I think I'm going to feel later on tonight when I meet these guys for the first time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't totally uncharted territory because I'd had that with Jacob. Different, yes, but there were some similarities. And, it was smiles and hugs and everything. There was a little bit of an awkwardness because there are some common words that are used that are deeply emotional to me. Okay, the kids would call it, does that trigger you or what? So, dad would be one. Love is another one. Son is another one. And so I'm meeting these people, and 100% from pure innocence on their part, nothing at all malicious from them. But I'm meeting people and, being introduced, whatever. And, it's like, and I'm dad's wife. Okay. And so just, I understand. It was great. So Candy, sweetest gal. I mean, like a little 5'0" from Tennessee, big personality, so much fun. And she goes, and you can call me mom. And I was like, man, like you better be careful because that term right there has I got a lot of issues, with my mom. Okay. So, but it was, it was purely innocence where she was coming from. And so, I was interested. It was interesting to me, not to be like shrinking on myself or, super, clinical, but just to go, man, I really was asking myself the question later on, like, why, where does that emotion come from? Like, why is that? Not that it's unnatural or that it's abnormal, but wow, I didn't realize, like I call my boy son, son, I'll say that. I've used the term, but I just haven't had that term used toward me, like ever.
Yeah.
My mom never called me son, my grandmother never. So, like Gary had said something and he says, oh, he goes, son, I love you. And I just remember going, hey, love you too,
We're going to be great friends.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me, okay, so what I compare that to is the very first day I meet Jacob, we're in the car together and he's 4 years old. And you got to remember, he's bounced around to 4 or 5 different placements at this point. Crazy story. And he says to me the words, so are you my new dad? At 4. Okay. So I feel similar there that I do in this scenario.
Yeah.
Because I remember saying to Jacob, I was like, well, let's just be friends right now. Let's work on being friends. And so there was just, there was more for me to unpack. And plus at that point I didn't know if he was going to be my son or not, because there's, a few more steps we're going to have to go through. And I do not feel that, Gary was trying to overstep some boundaries that I didn't feel that at all. I felt like he was just coming out from where his heart is right now. And, and so I'm open. So I didn't Heisman, I didn't push him away. But it wasn't like my long lost son and I'm just running up, arms wide open. We're taking baby steps.
Well, I wonder if there's some, there's kind of this sense of.
You got to get closer to the microphone. I'm going to do it before Stephen tackles you.
Yes. Sorry.
I don't correct people.
I talk really loud, so I figure I need to back up to, teacher voice. I feel like when you ask, so I was just thinking about like the kind of contrast, but also the similarity in those two conversations, where, you're sitting in the car with Jacob and he says, are you my new dad?
Yeah,
and you don't want him at that moment, I'm sure, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but just trying to think about what that emotion must have been like. Like you're thinking in your heart, like, God, I hope so. I hope I'm your new dad.
Yeah.
But you don't want in case something happens, because so many things go sideways in the foster system, and he's probably banking on how many times has he asked that question. He's always asking that question with hope, and you have to be careful with hope. Like it's a really kind of dangerous emotion, and so to kind of turn it on its head and have him say to you, like, I love you, son. What is that? He's basically asking you to get your hopes up that there's going to be some sort of strong relationship that you're not necessarily ready for either. There's like a guarded, you're guarding your heart in two really different ways, but in almost an identical scenario. I mean, you would have been the one asking your dad, are you my dad now?
Yeah.
And he just went for it.
Yeah.
And with Jacob, you didn't just go, because
Right,
you knew how loaded that was.
Yeah.
And so I think it just kind of speaks to that, like family maturity.
Yeah.
Or that sense of family maturity that you've probably had your whole life, like knowing what those words mean and what kind of, I don't want to say danger in those, but in that, like, don't let anybody down, and it's just a kind of an interesting kind of contrast.
Well, I think part of that is also my self-preservation.
Right.
For sure, protecting myself. And I'll tell you, this is just a funny thing because, he had to have said it, I don't know, at least 3 or 4 times throughout, especially Saturday, because Saturday was a little bit better. We were at his house and we did a little barbecue. And so we were there. It's a little bit more intimate setting because in a restaurant it's kind of loud and everything else. So we're there. And so he probably said it 3 or 4 times, but he goes, man, you must just have some big balls because I don't know if I would have come here or not, and then he was like, man, I thank you so much. And, for coming and, this hadn't come up, but I'm just going to show you. So moving forward, some of the questions that have been asked of me have been, so where does this go moving forward? What do you need? What do I need, in this relationship? And, my mom, who passed away, now, 7 months ago, the one request that I had of her over the last 2 years of her life was, and it's a little bit of a common theme now, is I need you to ask. She goes, because she would tell me all the time, I want more time with the boys. Okay. She would say, I want more time with the boys. I want more time with you. I'd like to be able to have a conversation with you. And so I would tell her, all you have to do is ask. Like, if you want the boys, maybe your health's not good enough to be able to take them overnight, but if you want the boys for a day, all I need you to do is ask. And I'm going to tell you right now, the answer is yes. I'll say yes, but here's what I need. I need you to ask. And that was hard. That was really hard for her to do, was ask. And so, where I could see, a challenge in the relationship would be, and I don't think it will be, but where it could be, is that if there were a passive nature on their side, whether it's siblings or biological father, if there was a passive stance, that would be hard for me. It would be hard for me to navigate. It would be hard because really at this point, I feel safe enough bringing my boys, I feel safe enough bringing my wife and all that. But if there's not some pursuit there, then I need something. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
like
saying?
if this is going to be a one-off, it's going to hurt.
Yeah. Well, and I don't even know if it's so much going to hurt.
Right.
I mean, and once again, I don't think it'll be this way because I think, even over, the couple of days that I've been back and us being able to communicate and even just via text, I'm totally good with it. But, if it's going to be, we're just going to wait till Kevin reaches out, that would be hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
I know you had something you wanted to bring up. So.
No, I think you guys went down a really good path. My question is more of a simple question.
Okay.
So you didn't know you had a father until 13. I'm asking as a son, right?
Yeah.
Didn't know you had a father until you were 13. 13, you meet him one time.
I met him when I was 22. So there's like almost 10 years until I actually meet him. But yeah.
So one time.
Yeah.
You now meet him again 30 years later.
Yeah.
What do you talk about?
That is definitely a fair question. And it's just getting to know one another, So retired from, being in the railroad for 40 years, hey, tell me about your kids. Tell me about Jacob. What does he like to do? Well, he's got a long curly mullet right now. How many 13-year-olds have that? It looks cool coming out of the back of his football helmet. Bentley just, dyed his hair blonde and he's Energizer Bunny all over the place and, loves his dog. Gretchen is, Gretchen's the mom that we all wish we had growing up, amazing. So, we talked about those things. One of the questions that I ended up asking, I asked Jeremy. So after dinner, Jeremy and I had brother. We had some time together. Ended up having I don't remember, a bottle or two of wine. I can't remember what it was, but I got to hear his side of the story. But the one question that I wanted him to answer for me was, what's Gary like with his grandkids? Like that was if there was any question that I was coming into, I'm like, I can protect myself. My boys have lost the only grandfather they've had. So they're maternal. So Gretchen's dad passed away a few years ago. If this is going to be a relationship, what's he like? If he's a total asshole, then, if he's totally disconnected, if he's, what is he like? And so that was really good. And it was affirming and it was a positive response, that I got from there. And, and I would even say for Jeremy, he was saying that he gets to see, I'm going to say his dad, he gets to see his dad in a different light being a grandfather, than he experienced as a child. Okay. So he's had both experiences where I don't have both of them. But he gets to see his dad in a different light, in a better light than what he got to experience as a kid. So he didn't have as much experience, as a kid around his dad. He was raised by his grandparents, so his maternal, grandparents. So, but that was one of the questions that I had, going in, part of it, history. So tell me, hey, you and Candy been married for 28 years, so, so just conversations like that, so.
This entire weekend is full of surprise, but was there anything that shocked you? Was there anything surprising? Was there anything that kind of took you back, like, wait a second?
I mean, I would say we in a good way, we have some similar personalities as far as like humor, sense of humor, because I definitely told them, once the barriers were down and I was feeling a little more comfortable, I said, because they were asking me, so like when you heard Ashley, all this, I said, well, I was still guarded because I didn't know if it was real or if it was a scam or what. And then I told them about the picture that I saw on Ashley's page from when Ashley and Shelly and Jeremy were, kids, and that grainy picture from probably 78 to 80, somewhere in there. And I saw the last name. So I was like, okay. And then then the whole crap, I'm gonna have to give up a kidney. So I gave him that. And so, so that kind of became a little bit of a joke throughout the weekend, and so like at the very end, I think Gary goes, so is a kidney on the table? So I was like, okay, that would absolutely be something I would say, no doubt about it. So it was like, you've had all this set up and, you've told a bunch of other stories. And at the very end, like the final punchline before you're walking off the stage is, so is a kidney on the table. So, yeah, so that was fun. That was fun. One of the things that I did get to do, this was Saturday, so we had the barbecue, and I was there probably 3 or 4 hours. Got back together, went out to dinner with a couple of my other buddies. Had an amazing dinner at Bob's Steakhouse in Texas. I'll give them a little shout out. It was absolutely phenomenal. But then we went and we got together, and they called a couple of other people, and we were sitting outside, having some bourbon and other stuff, and so it was a conversation, and it was great because although the initial conversation started with this weekend for me and everything else, but it was great. Like one of my college roommates, Kai Harrison, was there. I mean, I haven't seen Kai forever. Kurt Neal. I'm going to get Kurt on the podcast, man. Just absolute pillar. Love the man to death. Has been an inspiring example for me since I was in high school. And then, my other 2 buddies, Patrick and Donald were there. So we had some wonderful conversations. And one of the questions that Kai asked me was, Kai said, so did you like them? Pretty simple question. Did you like them, as people? And so, I answered the question, and then that kind of led, and Kurt is a super, he played linebacker at SMU. He was just a man's man. And, he's like 10 years older than us. And so when we were in high school, he was our youth pastor, and, he really modeled so much for us, young men, just a guy that's, a few steps ahead of us. But it was so wonderful. And I think he goes, I'm pretty sure the question he asked said, do you love them? Do you love him? He was talking about Gary. Do you love Gary? Do you love your dad? And I said, wow, man, that's a loaded, man, there's a lot to it. And I think the response that I gave to him was, I think, let me say what I want. I hope that Gary feels loved by me. Not rejected, not I need an explanation, not anything else. I hope he feels loved by me. And I hope he does, I don't harbor any ill feelings. I don't anything. I kind of shared earlier that I don't know there's anything that he would be able to say. It's not going to change any of the history anyway. Yeah. So I'm either going to accept, where we are in this journey. I kind of asked before about, I don't know, 3 acts in a play or whatever, if this is the 3rd act, and maybe there's reconciliation, maybe there's maybe that's the wrong word, but maybe there's a reuniting or something like that happens, wonderful. Or maybe it's, we realize that, this doesn't need to go any further. But I'm just open. I'm kind of open to the adventure. And, and I think I told you guys before on the last one, I was like, the advantage I have is I live like 900 miles from them, so it's going to take a hell of a lot of effort for someone to just show up on my doorstep, so, and I'm, I got ways to protect myself inside my house in particular. So
How often? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. How often do they get together as a family? Because I know you said,
yeah.
How close are all of them?
Yeah, it sounds like they've really done a good job. They have definitely got together for Gary's birthday, Father's Day. Sounds like a holiday or two. Some of the major ones. Yeah. So it sounds like
Pretty consistently.
And so Shelly, so here's the crazy part. So Shelly, she was, let me rephrase that. She was the oldest until now. Now I'm the oldest. So she was all excited that, that she's not the oldest. Okay. But it was her birthday, like the day that we meet. So it was kind of nice because there was also something else going around. So it wasn't just, this total concentration of focus on, just me and everything else, which just kind of begins to be weird, you're setting up here on this pedestal and everybody's looking at you and, I didn't feel that there wasn't that kind of awkwardness. So even as, we're sitting around having dinner, they're having conversations and Ashley's son Bryden was, sitting right across the table from me. He's a year older than Jacob. He plays football. He played center also, he's a big, good looking kid. And so it was fun. And then even Ashley's husband shows up, Jason, he shows up, he just got off work and, I don't know, we definitely need to become really good friends because he sells Corvettes. Like that's his area of specialty. So, all the other Chevrolet cars, but just the Corvette, I'm like, dude, come on, man, we're good. So, but it was fun, I got to learn a little bit more about Shelly, as well. And, she has a couple of adult children and, I don't totally know her journey, but it was fun. She's kind of got the fun streak, going through her. And, so it was, once again, it was fun to meet them. I'll be going back to Texas. The family, my boys and Gretchen will be going back to Texas, for Thanksgiving for sure. So right now it is slated that we would, be able to spend some time with them. So it'll be interesting to see where we go.
Good. So it's already progressing in the right direction.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So you host a podcast called BadAssDads. Yeah. You have lived through having a father, not having a father that whole bit.
Yeah.
You are now the father of 2 sons.
Yeah. All right, before you finish.
Keep going.
Okay. So we're working on the book, right? Okay. So we started working on the book before all this happened, right? And so the title of the book being The Dad I Never Had. Okay. So I'm laughing at the irony of the timing of all of this, which is the book is really not about growing up without a dad, because the subtitle is right now is, 8 gifts every dad can give and every kid wants. So I've just laughed really hard at the timing of all this. And I have been writing. I need to do better communicating that with you. But, so coming back to the whole badass dad thing, I had to laugh at just like, okay, like how is all this fitting together, And as you've read some of the stuff I write, like you're going, dude, you're all over the map, and somehow we'll get the pieces to this jigsaw puzzle together. So sorry. Back to the question.
No. Did you talk about the book with them?
I did not talk about the book with them.
Does that sound like a sore subject to bring up? Like, how do you bring that up to your dad? Like,
nice to meet you. I'm writing about you.
The Dad I Never
Had. I did not bring up the book. I definitely talked about the podcast, for sure. And so, yeah.
So the question is, US podcast, you've gone through these phases of your life, now raising sons.
Yeah.
What's your, and I don't want to say advice, but if someone came up to you and said, I'm a father of 2 adopted sons, and they've requested, that they want to get in contact.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I would say there are some age appropriate responses, maybe there's a timing to it. And also, how has it been set up? I mean, from day one, and I can really say from day one with our boys, we've had a 3-ring binder for each of them that has pictures in it that show biological parents, siblings, some things like that. So it's never been a mystery, but that's the way we've chosen to do it. Okay. What we have not, now here's another choice that we made. And I know some people are choosing differently and totally get it. Partly based on the nature of the background where our boys came from, we have not had any, so rephrase that, they have not had any communication or anything with them basically since they've been with us. Okay. So there's been a separation. So there's been a time of separation, although it has been a communication. And now there are partly some legal things around it, for our boys and where, biological parents have been throughout the, legal system. We'll put it that way. Okay. So there's been some protection on that side. But that was just for us, because I know some people want to continue to have relationships, with the biological mom or dad or whatever. We just chose not to, especially while they were young, continue to have the conversation. We didn't want to create, the fuzziness, who was in what role there. So, an interesting conversation that I had with my cousin, who is in a very similar situation that I was born into, okay, in that she is raising and helping to raise her grandson. I mean, I would say she's if not she's one of the primary caretakers of her grandson, and the biological father is not part of. And I don't know if they terminated rights or it's probably different now than it was way back in the long time ago when I was going there. But I don't know. I don't know that it really benefited me to be told that he was dead for 13 years. Okay. I think an open conversation would have been more beneficial for me. So to deny, Gary's existence those years was that's not the way that I would guide someone in that conversation, that journey.
So basically, you're saying, be truthful, but be age appropriate.
Yeah.
I think that's easy, and I can't imagine the number of stepfathers and adopted fathers and like other weird family situations really aren't that out of the norm. I feel like many people can kind of walk away with something from that.
Yeah. And, once again, we said age appropriate conversations, but I think just having the conversations, what's important, because, when I shared earlier that, when I communicated with the boys and I told them all this going on, I mean, I took an extra day. So, Gretchen and I find out on a Saturday. I talked to Ashley that night. I get a text message from Gary Sunday. Hey, can we talk Monday? We record their initial episode on Monday. I end up talking to Gary later on that day. So literally my second conversation in my life with my biological father that day. And then at this point, my boys know nothing. So I've had a couple of days, to let this sink in. And so then, my communication with Jacob, so 13 years old. And so I actually called him. We had a little one-on-one, and I said, hey, I need to tell you, let's need to have a conversation. And of course, his first response is, wait, we've already had this talk. What do we need to have it again? I'm 13 now, and I was like, okay, no, this is a different conversation. Okay. But we'll still continue to have that one too. And so, I share with him, and he goes, his response was, hey, so you're telling me you got a sister? And I said, well, I mean, what it looks like right now, I'm not 100% sure, but, it looks like I have two sisters and a brother and biological dad, that would be a grandpa to you and grandfather to you, and so then he starts asking, so do they have kids? And he starts asking some good questions and everything. And once I say, yeah, it looks like I'm pretty sure, I know there are kids. I don't know any details on it. And he goes, so we have more Texas cousins. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, awesome. He's like so excited, for that. And so, I think just being able to have that conversation. So then I was like, okay, now we got to figure out how to have this conversation with a 9-year-old. And so all 4 of us, so Gretchen and I and the boys, go downstairs. We're in our living room, and we're sitting on the floor because just one thing in communication, that I've noticed is if you can be on the same level with people. So I'm not standing. I mean, he's 9, and I'm 6'2". I'm not like looking down at him. So we're on the same level, and we're having the conversation. And I let Gretchen, who's got amazingly soft touch and everything else, start communicating. And Bentley's response is, when he hears everything, goes, wait, you got a sister? Why does it have to be a sister? More girls? So he has that response. And then, of course, Gretchen's over there. She's crying, whatever. Then he goes, Mommy, you need some peanut butter whiskey. So that's the breadth of responses that my boys had. But I to answer your question, I just think, having the conversation earlier is better because, when there's so much mystery, then, it's easy for kids to start thinking, why are they hiding this from me? There's something else they're not telling me. And then that mistrust, I shared with you before, the worst thing you can do in our family is lie, and keeping secrecies and things like that. It's akin to it. It's a cousin to it. And I think you just got to be very careful with those because, man, the truth always comes out. At some point, the truth is going to come out. So, yeah.
So my question is this. I know in our first conversation that you had, you said that one of the reasons why you wanted to get in touch with your dad or kind of an ancillary reason apart from your own personal reasons was that this might happen for my boys one day.
Yeah. Yep.
And now you've had this experience and it's been largely what I would
positive.
say a very positive or good experience.
Yep. I mean, you know what though? I mean, it could have been better. Like if they would have been multi-billionaires and everything, and I just found out that I just okay. So
you showed up and they said we have a gift for you, and it just so happens to be a yacht, or something like that.
Got your own private plane waiting for you now.
What? Okay, so here's kind of my burning question ever since this whole thing started. I feel like I can ask it now.
All right.
Let's say we get another 10, 15 years down the road. And
I got to give a kidney this time?
Yeah, no kidneys. And the same thing happens to Jacob or Bentley.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, I've done this before.
Yeah.
I've been down this path. We saw all this. What's going to be your advice to them if their experience is either non-existent and they say that they're waiting for all these years and their biological parents even never show up, or they do make that trip to Texas or wherever or middle of nowhere, Florida or something like that to go meet their family, and it's not what they expect, and they don't want it. It's negative. It's
bad.
What will you do to guide, or how will you be a dad to them, or what's going to be your dad advice at that point?
That's a dumbass question. Like, who would ever want to answer that one? Oh my gosh. I think the biggest thing is, part of it is a hope. My hope is that my boys will let me walk that journey with them. Okay. So that I will be around long enough, to be able to traverse those waters with them. Okay. Not for them. No. Okay. But with them and where they will let me come alongside them. So that would be one part of that answer. The other part to this is going to be the groundwork that we are doing right now, and hopefully providing enough love and foundation in their life that should, that situation, meeting biological family and it not being good. And here's one of the things that happens. Now, this is very natural. I'm going to go a little clinical on you right now. But one of the things that happens with kids that are adopted many times, not all the time, but many times, is that they can romanticize what biological family is. Okay. So then they make up stories. Hey, well, my dad is an astronaut. Well, my dad, played in the NFL, or my dad, whatever, or, all these different things. And so reality rarely is the romantic reality. So being able to have those conversations and not planting a seed of doubt or fear or less than for them, but being able to have some conversations with them ahead of time going, hey, listen, this is your journey. So I don't know if I totally answered the question, but just being able to walk alongside them and communicate with them. And, we have, and hopefully we've done a good job of this, but we have worked really hard. We've never, I say never, I'm pretty sure this is true, never said anything other to our boys other than the mom and dad that birthed you love you. They loved you. They were just not in a place to be able to take care of you. And so that's where we are. And there are some spiritual things that we would share behind that as well, that we believe that God brought us into this relationship with you. But also letting them know, and maybe this kind of connects some of the dots earlier, is that for Gretchen and I, we chose you. Like we could have said no. And to be honest, there were some situations that that we did say no to, but we chose to say yes to you. So here's why you are special and why you're special to us. So I really feel like we are digging the wells long before we get thirsty. And you know what? I'm just thinking about, a buddy of mine in particular that has adult children that he adopted, and he's going through a really tough time right now. And, they've made some choices, whether addiction and some other things. And it's really tough for him because he's like, man, I didn't raise them this way. And I think realizing also that it is their journey, it is their journey. And, by the time they're age 18, we have 80% of the whole time we're going to, so what do we do? And even after that, it's going to be their choice. They're going to be grown-ass kids, grown-ass men one day, and they're going to make their own decisions. So that was probably really clever avoidance of the question that you asked. But
that's okay. You cleverly avoided well.
Steven, you have anything else? Yeah, you good?
You didn't bring us down here to throw softballs at you. So.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure.
You said that you were showered with love when you got down there, which is odd. It's not odd. It's interesting because they're over familiar with you and you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
In many respects. Like they know a lot about you and you're walking in. It's like I kind of equate it to a sports star or a TV personality walking in like, oh, I know so much about you.
Yeah.
And that person, they don't know anything about you.
Right.
And you were asked, you hope that Gary finds love or feels love.
Yeah.
Do you, I think the answer is yes, but like, did you find what you were looking for? And then did you feel love from them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I did feel love from them. And I would also say, one of the things that was a great benefit was, some of my boys from, way back in my high school days, I was able to have time with them as well, which also kind of protected me, insulated me there as well. I definitely did. I felt and feel. I feel loved. I feel welcomed. I feel a part. I feel, as I'm processing this even right now, there's a part that I go, like I feel needed. Like there's something that. Not that they're needy, but there is a role for me with this family.
And you feel like you can contribute.
Yes. And I got to tell you, even as I'm saying all these things, I am still struggling with some of the nouns and pronouns. As this family as opposed to my family. I'm struggling with. I've got many decades of this one story that that has been my story to, just to open this up. And maybe it is a way for me to protect myself, but, it's still so early for me to be changing the pronouns or be able to use the nouns of dad. Those it's tough, and there are some emotions that are connected to it. And it's funny because even though, I feel like I am a very emotional person. I don't really get emotional around most sentimental things. which is kind of weird. I usually get emotional around like great successes or joys, or like someone hits a home run. I'm like, oh my God, it was amazing, and we scored the touchdown, and most sad things don't, but there is an emotion that I feel, around it. And, so, but it is a journey that I'm willing to take. It's a journey I'm willing to take, so.
Well, and don't forget too, I mean, if you're putting an addition onto your house, nobody says you have to knock the whole wall down. You can just put the addition on and put a door in there, or put some windows in there. And as you go, maybe you get to the point where you say, is this a load-bearing wall any longer? And if it no longer is a load-bearing wall, you knock that wall down and you have one big giant house. But for now, it's just... Right now, you got a carport, and it's going to take some time to turn that into a family room.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think the natural question, what are my expectations moving forward? I mean, I guess maybe I've just become so zen-like that, I have no expectations. I can meditate on my navel for hours and hours and hours. but I I'm not going, oh my gosh, 3 years from now, we're all going to Hawaii together. Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe it is a one-off. Gary mentioned about, he had a picture of him, the bass fishing. As a little retirement thing that he had, and he's like, oh, he likes to do this, and I was like, dude, well, Jacob loves to fish. I'm not a fisherman. Y'all may have that in common. It's like, oh, well, here, I can fill this hole, here. So,
Maybe they are billionaires and they just haven't told you yet.
Oh my gosh, I think you're right.
See, you can do the romanticism of the parent thing is too, and they're just waiting. They're just testing the waters and making sure that you don't want a kidney from them.
Ooh.
And then in another 5 years, you are going to go on a vacation to Hawaii or something like that. And they're going to be like, surprise.
Get a kidney in Hawaii.
Maybe.
Okay.
And then once you get the kidney, they'll say, now that this has happened, and they'll take you out on a big boat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and they'll be like, by the way, we're major hedge fund operators.
Yeah. Well, at least you didn't use the Texas oil thing anymore, because right now oil is not where it should be. So it's a little sensitive subject for my boys back in Texas. So yeah,
hope springs eternal.
Oh my gosh! All right. Well, hey guys, thank you for joining us on this journey, and I'm sure we'll continue to have more and more conversations like this. It is fun. I wanted this podcast, I've shared it a couple different times, but I wanted this podcast just to be as real as it could be, as real as it gets, the UFC saying, and this is life, and this is happening to me right now. And I don't know if someone's going to get anything out of it. Maybe this is once again, just me, on the couch getting to, share, what's going on with me. But I hope that this does get a chance to serve some people, that it makes an impact with some people, and that, if there's someone out there that is struggling, or, they've been distanced from their, I'm kind of looking at it from the dad perspective, they've been distanced from their kids or whatever, that, man, just the ability to say, I miss you, I love you. And even if it's so weird to think, but even if it's not reciprocated, because I didn't use that word. I mean, that was a tough word for me. And not to say I wouldn't ever use that word, not to say that I wouldn't ever, call him dad, but I think even through all that, I still have the ability to be able to say, or be able to emote, I should say, and let him feel love from me. It's more than just the word there. So, in Forging Stronger Fathers, I think it really comes down to us developing ourselves as men, as fathers, and being prepared to be able to handle, different things that come up. And so thank you guys. The narrative is changing for me in my life, and who would have thought, this many decades later that there'll be this new chapter, and I'm learning to use some words that have been sacred to me, and navigating those waters. So I just appreciate you guys. So hit us up, Instagram, the Facebook. We've been getting a couple emails. It's been fun to be able to communicate with some guys. People have been hitting me up with some questions. We have all those in the description here, and appreciate you guys. Have a badass day and be a badass dad. And we are out. Wait. Steven, stop the music. Okay, if you listen this far, give me 87 more seconds. All I want you to do is please subscribe, leave us a review, leave us a 5-star rating. Do that now. You listen this far, just go ahead and leave us that quick review. Also, go to the Instagram. Follow us on the Instagram, the Badass Dads Podcast there. Go on Facebook. You can follow us there. Go to our website, BadAssDads.org. Register there. You can get all the up-to-date, everything from behind the scenes. Get this stuff. You can also find some swag, t-shirts and hats and mugs and different things, notebooks. There. So please, you listened this far, give us a few more seconds. Have a badass day.